What up, YouTube? It's Jackineer, and welcome to the first episode of the Steam Library Challenge, as I'm calling it, where I play all my games on Steam and Epic Games and all the other game launchers. This episode, we are dealing with the A games and 911 Operator. So let's get started. Just a reminder, if you didn't see my last video, I will be playing half an hour to an hour of each of my games and will rate it either will play again, will try again, or won't play again. If you didn't see the intro video, it will be linked in the description. Anyway, let's jump into it. The first game that I played was 911 Operator, developed by Abzu Games and published by Games Operators. 911 Operator is a simulator that puts you in the place of, well, a 911 operator, where you take calls from civilians and send corresponding vehicles to the site where they called from. There are a bunch of different vehicles to buy and upgrades to improve your arsenal, tons of questions to ask callers, and many situations going on at once that will keep you busy all the way till the day is over. In terms of gameplay, like I said, you'll get a bunch of calls from people across the city, and you get to talk with them to see where an emergency may be happening. Some of these calls won't be emergencies, and you could just hang up on people. Like one guy called because somebody was parked in his illegal parking spot. If you find a real emergency, you can calm them down and ask questions like where the emergency is happening, what time it happened, things like that. There are some loading screens that explain what you can do, give you some tips. Then comes the vehicle part, where you can command cars, bikes, and choppers to go to certain sites. Some sites only require one type of vehicle, such as just police, but some will need multiple types and multiple units to fix. And this is where I sort of stopped playing, as at one point I sent all of my medical units to one site and the emergency just stayed there. I'm assuming that each emergency has different amount of units and time needed to resolve it, but this one was taking probably 5 to 10 minutes, and with all my other ambulances there, I couldn't use them for anything else. That was the only issue I had with the game. It's not a bad game, far from it, but it's just not a game that I would play on a regular basis or will play at all when I have access to my other games. It's decent quality and seems to have lots of replay value, but it's just not my type of game. That said, if I don't have access to my other games, such as if my internet goes down or I'm traveling with my laptop, then would be a good time to crack out this game. And for that, 911 Operator scores a try it again. First rating and first game of the series. Next up, we have A Story About My Uncle, developed by Gone North Games and published by Coffee Stain. Now, this game is more like it. A Story About My Uncle is a linear, first-person adventure parkour game that will have you grappling around floating rocks to get to the next level. I first saw this game as B-roll for a YouTube video, and it looked fun, so I was glad when I saw it was free on Steam a while back. The game starts with an introduction to the story. It's a playable cutscene where you learn that you're a dad, and you're telling your daughter a bedtime story about your Uncle Fred, who was kind of like a mad scientist, making a lot of wacky inventions, and one of them is going to be the grapple suit that you use in the game. After the intro, you are sent into a magical world of floating islands and mysterious people. This is where the story starts, with you trying to follow the steps of your Uncle Fred to find him. Along the way, you'll meet Maddie, a weird creature who has a fascination of magic and crystals. Gameplay-wise, the game has a great concept. You start off with having boosted jumps, then the grapple, which you can upgrade, and then finally rocket boots. You'll have to use a combination of all these tools to get through each level. Dying results in having you restart a certain portion of the level, and there are some challenges in the game set up by Maddie that includes trying to get through a level without using the grapple hook. It adds a nice challenge because some of the levels are a bit on the easy side. This game is truly a fun experience. The motion is fluid and engaging, the story is alright, and the world is beautiful. Character models are not the best quality, but that doesn't necessarily bring my score down for the game. And with that, A Story About My Uncle earns a solid play it again score. I can't wait to finish it. While editing this video, I actually did finish the game. It was only about 2 hours long, which is kind of disappointing given that it was so fun. I might move the score down to try it again instead of play it again, but that's only because I already completed it. I'm sure I will play through it again sometime. The game after that is Arrow by Madfellows, a rhythm-based flying/action game where you line your ship up with the lines to match the song while also shooting weird robot things. I got this game in a humble bundle, but it's still a solid game. Arrow has multiple levels with varying levels of difficulty, all set on top of a great soundtrack featuring songs by artists like Flux Pavilion and Noisia. Each level consists of 2 to 3 different parts. There's the rhythm part, where you fly in a circle to line your ship up with the lines on the side of the tubes. There's parts where you just need to dodge some obstacles, and then there are these big open areas where you fight robots and dodge their bullets. There are also some boss battles that are really cool, like this giant worm, where you have to fly into his mouth while also shooting him as he jumps in and out of the sand. That's really all the game has to offer, though. There isn't much in terms of rewards for beating levels, and with cosmetics as pretty much the only lockables, there isn't much to play for. This game is pretty fun for the first few times you play it, but it can get kind of repetitive. And if you don't like the type of music there is in the game, that being dubstep and EDM, you may not like it. I do like the type of music, but that still doesn't make me want to keep playing it. And for that, I will give Arrow a try it again for when I have nothing else to do. Up next is Abzu by Giant Squid Studios, and boy is this game gorgeous. This game truly shows that gaming is not only for entertainment, but also is a form of art. Abzu will have you swimming in beautiful landscapes with amazing sea creatures. There isn't much when it comes to actual engaging gameplay, but that's not what Abzu is for. It's a game for relaxing and chilling out. The art style is this cartoony look with not much realistic detail, but with the vibrant colors of the world, it doesn't really matter. The game is really calming with all the sounds of wildlife and the soothing soundtrack. After a long hard day of school or work, you can just chill and swim around. Swimming is really the only gameplay for this game, and story-wise, there really isn't any besides lighting up dark parts of the ocean in these magnificent temples. That really is it. There are some robots that help you with things, and you can ride some of the creatures, but it doesn't really add much to the game. But just because this game is really basic at its core, that's totally fine. Some games aren't meant to be super complex and to be played for tens to hundreds of hours. If you just want to make an atmospheric walking simulator or something, that's fine. Just don't make it $60. As for a rating, Abzu takes home a play it again for when I just want to chill and listen to my music or its. After Abzu, we would have Ace of Spades, but since I already sunk 100 hours in this game, and it's the definition of a dead game, I won't play it. I am going to give it a don't play again, but if you do want to see me play it, I do have some videos of the game from a few years back on my channel. Just lower your volume if you're going to watch it. Skipping Ace of Spades lands us on Adventure Capitalist. It's a free game on Steam, and I downloaded it a long time ago, realized it's stupid, and deleted it. But with the recent Steam library overhaul, it shows all of your free games that you've deleted, and so it shows up on my GOG Galaxy, and thus I have to play it. Adventure Capitalist is a mobile clicker game by Hypo Hippo Studios, and it's as dumb as it looks. You start a business and click buttons to sell products until you have enough money to buy someone to do it for you. So at that point, it's not really a clicker game, it's just more of a managing game, but there's barely anything to manage. I used to play this game on my iPad a few years back, and then it was actually fun, because I could just change the time on my iPad to a few hundred years into the future and log back in to see an absurd amount of money. I don't know if you can do that in this version, but I really don't care enough to try. Being originally a mobile game, it's kinda dumb. Like 99.9% of all games in the App Store. There's not really any fun parts of the game, and it's more of a cash grab disguised as a game. I used to play quite a few games on my phone, but recently I've been enlightened to realize that these games are just so dumb and pointless that I've deleted all of my games on my phone except for Game Dev Tycoon and Geometry Dash. And those games are ports from real games on PC. So they have more to them than repetitive bullcrap designed to addict you and milk your wallet. With all this being said, if you can't tell, I'm going to give Adventure Capitalist a won't play game. From here, we move on to Age of Wonders 3 from Triumph Studios. I'm a sucker for medieval fantasy worlds and games like Skyrim and Lord of the Rings, but one thing I tend to stay away from is turn-based strategy games. Unfortunately, Age of Wonders is exactly that. The idea of commanding an army of elves or orcs or goblins or anything of the sort intrigues me, but when I actually get to playing them, I feel underwhelmed. These TBS games have never been my favorite, and I always dislike something about them, whether it be the camera or the combat or anything else. I feel like there's always too much going on or not enough, so I have never stuck around. Age of Wonders, from what I play, is a pretty decent quality game that has you commanding multiple small battalions of troops as well as a general, as I would guess, to try to clear out the enemy troops. Each turn you can tell your guys to move, attack, or both. For the few battles I played, it always took a few turns before I could actually do anything because the enemies were so far away. But my archers or mages or whatever they were could shoot the guys from afar if nothing was blocked. Outside of these battles, there's another small map, which I could consider the hub to access all the other battles in another castle. After that, I couldn't figure out where to go. Also, traveling around the map was part of the turn system, and I don't understand why moving takes up turns, because I have to walk, pause, and then click the end my turn button, and then it's just automatically my turn again. I think it's dumb, but I must be missing something because this makes no sense otherwise. After playing Age of Wonders 3, it reinforced my opinion that I don't like turn-based strategy games. It just isn't the type of game that I like, and that's fine. So I'll give Age of Wonders 3 a wouldn't play again. Remember, this does not mean it's a bad game, unlike AdCap. I just personally don't enjoy it. Skipping along, we find Alan Wake's American Nightmare, made by Remedy Entertainment. This game is a nightmare to play. Okay, that might be too harsh. It's not a horrible game. I did not play the original game, Alan Wake, and I actually have no idea what it's about, so I went into this game blind. And, well, it just seems very generic. It seems like a Walking Dead ripoff or just some lazy zombie game. The game's quality is okay. I mean, it's a game from 2012, so I can't expect beautiful graphics or anything like that. Alan Wake's American Nightmare is set in Arizona, where you are in a TV show or something, and there's this evil doppelganger of your character that is creating these possessed people that try to kill you. So you have to escape to this motel where you'll find this lady that will help you sort out stuff. I didn't get far into the story because I got stuck finding parts to a reality rewriter or something of the sort, but I did get a feel for the gameplay. The game is a third-person shooter, which is a genre I used to stay away from, but recently have tried some, and I've grown to like them more. You have a flashlight that you can use to stun the bad guys, and multiple guns around the map that you can use. The stunning part of the flashlight doesn't really make sense, but the flashlight itself helps contribute to the eeriness of the game. I don't play horror games, but I don't think this game is supposed to be a horror game. However, the game being at night and using the flashlight really keeps you on the edge of your seat, knowing that something can be around the corner. The game seems to be one of those games that puts your character in a smallish area, and you're free to explore that area until you complete the tasks in said area to then move on to the next one. This means that the area that I was in was pretty explorable, with many secrets to be found and things to do. That's all I really have to say about the game. I'm not a big linear style gamer, and I also don't necessarily like scary things, so while Alan Wake's American Nightmare is a decent game for my first impressions, I have other games I'd rather play. Maybe I'll boot this game up in the far future, but until then, it's being uninstalled. Alan Wake gets a try it again. The next 3 games I'm pretty familiar with, so I'll be skipping them. These are Apex Legends, Ark Survival, and Ark Survival the Fittest. As a quick rundown of each, Apex Legends is a battle royale, and I don't like those games, so try it again. Ark Survival is pretty fun. I've tried to really get into it multiple times, but it never really seems to click. However, I still like to play it from time to time, so play it again for Ark Survival. And finally, Ark Survival the Fittest is a competitive multiplayer combat-based Ark Survival, which I only have because I didn't own Ark when I got Survival the Fittest, so don't play again. Nearing the end, our next game is Assassin's Creed 2, developed and published by Ubisoft. This game was gifted to me by a friend a few years ago for my birthday, and it was a time that he was playing through all the Assassin's Creed games, and he wanted me to try it. I did, and it wasn't really what I expected, and this is why. First off, the game doesn't start you off as an assassin. I didn't know that the game is about a guy who transports his consciousness in the past. I thought it was that you were an assassin and that was it. And this would be fine, but when I started to play, I wanted to start, well, assassinating people. And instead, I got stuck with playing through a boring cutscene for 20 minutes. It took a while before I got to the good stuff, and it hurt my interest playing this game. Yeah, you could just say that I'm really impatient, and I need to wait for the good stuff, but remember that I have a large amount of games I'd rather play, and if this game makes me wait for the action, I'd rather move on to the next game. I'm definitely not one who deeply cares about story in games, and so story-driven games aren't my thing. And even if Assassin's Creed isn't story-driven, having the first impressions all be related to setting up the game rather than being the game, then I'm gonna lose interest. When I was actually able to play the game, it didn't seem like it was made for PC. The button prompts were not keys and instead weird symbols that I had to check multiple times in the control option menu for. And when there was no button that told me how to sprint, I felt like an idiot when I had to beat my brother or friend or whatever in a race. If I was going to play an Assassin's Creed game, this one would definitely not be it. I've heard the 4th one and the latest 2 are pretty good, so maybe if I wanted to get into the series, I'll pick up those ones. But for now, I think I'll pass on this franchise. Assassin's Creed 2 gets a don't play again. Sorry Ubisoft, better luck next time. The last game of this episode is Axiom Verge, developed by Thomas Happ Games. This game is more of my style. I got it for free on the Epic Games Store, but haven't played it till now. This game is what I believe is called a Metroidvania, as it seems to be heavily influenced by the Metroid titles. The game has a retro style with graphics and music reminding me of the games from the Super Nintendo, which is pretty cool seeing the devs reviving the style. This seems to be an ongoing trend in these smaller indie titles. The game is a 2D side-scrolling action platformer that has you finding guns and fighting enemies as you make your way through the levels. The levels are connected by these tubes, and you will have to go through each section multiple times to find your way through. There are many enemy types, including those who cling onto the walls and platform, nests of flying creatures, and worms that hide in the walls waiting to strike. Each gives you a different way you need to fight, whether it be ducking and jumping or baiting the enemy out and ambushing them. There are also boss fights that combine a lot of the different mechanics from these smaller creatures into one final battle. They are a true test of skill, taking me multiple attempts to finally conquer them. This is my first Metroidvania style game, and I have to say it's pretty fun. Everything goes well together and is presented in a high quality fashion. I'm gonna give Axiom Verge a play it again, and once I beat it, I'll try out Super Metroid on the Nintendo Switch's NES Virtual Console. Well, that is all my A games for now. Since the start of this video, I have acquired a few more A games, but since I am eager to get this video out, I will save those for a later video that I look at games I may have missed. The next episode for this Steam Library Challenge will probably come out in a few months, since I have a ton of new games that I actually want to play, like the Far Cry series, and I'm also working on a giant mansion in Minecraft, so it will be a while. But I may make some videos in between, so don't you worry. This has been Jackineer, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.